He hasn't spoken to me for 2 months.
They're actually a lot more dangerous than what people think they are.
Really? No way.
Underrated.
Welcome to episode 1 of North vs South. My name's Finn. I'm with Finlay, and this is the podcast where we unequivocally dispute who's the better rugby hemisphere, the North or the South. Basically, it's where I'm just going to talk every week to Finlay about why the South is better. 9 World Cups to 1. The stats speak for themselves. Finlay and I basically just met. I don't really feel like I know him. Kidding. We go a few years back, man. He's from Scotland. I'm from Australia, but we both talk the language of rugby. Finlay, to start with, mate, commiserations about the World Cup, the football that's going on at the moment. How you doing?
I'm seething about it, but if you know me and you know my online business, I'm not a big fan of Scotland managers. So the better we fix that, the better we can get that all sorted out. But enough. Actually, wait, talking about football, is Australia actually still in?
Yeah, of course they are. So, I mean,
you made it too.
Yeah, they made the round of 32, and they're going to play Egypt. But I just got back from Canada. I live in Australia, as you know, mate, but I am from New Zealand. So I just spent a week following the All Whites. That was cool. Now back down under, ready to watch the Wallabies get the win over Ireland this weekend in Sydney. Man, I'm pretty keen for the Nations Championship to start, to be honest. I think, this is Test footy. This is what we love. I will just say with this podcast, North and South, like I said, Finlay and I both speak rugby. We love rugby. I think what I would love this podcast to be is, a lot of fans on TikTok and social media kind of interacting. So make sure you get them with your opinions, your thoughts, and let's make this, let's really get the people debating, like I said, about North versus South, who was the best. And to kick things off, episode 1, segment 1, Finlay, hot take. I gave you some prep time for this. You've had a think. This must be pretty good. What is it?
Yes, I think in the light of Nations Championships and the lead up to it all, I was keeping international in my hot takes. Nothing too crazy, nothing Dan Carter-esque. However, with the World Cup leading up and many teams getting prepared for this World Cup, my hot take, crazy, but I think that Australia are more likely to win a World Cup than England in the next. I'm not even going to say just this World Cup. I think the next 2 or 3 World Cups, they'll probably be more likely to win. What do you think?
Yeah, they're going to go back to back. 2027, 2031. My dad is big All Blacks.
Don't get too audacious by that. I'd say they're more likely to win, but they're not going to win. But I think there's a narrative around England that they think they have a top squad and they have an amazing squad. But what they got to switch on to is the Wallabies. They have to look at what Wallabies are doing and go, ooh, they're actually a lot more dangerous than what people think they are. And I've been watching a lot more Super Rugby recently, and I just love what they're doing right now. They didn't do amazing in the later stages of Super Rugby, but the players they've got a better back line than that England team. And I just think they're going into 27. It's going to be them.
I agree.
Lose it.
I agree. That's not even a hot take, mate. You're just speaking facts, but I also feel like you missed the point of the podcast. This is supposed to be North versus South. You got to come in. You got to defend England here. You're going to defend someone from the North.
I do love winding up the English, to be fair, but England, I think from the North right now, the North have got a really... England came in hot and heavy the Six Nations. I don't know if you saw it much on social media. They were going hot and heavy for that Grand Slam. And I was the only one that spoke out, and I was like, I knew they were going to lose to Scotland at Murrayfield, but that's just Scotland at Murrayfield. They turn into a different animal up there. But there's so much smoke going up their arse. They're not those guys. They're going to have it really, really tough over the next couple of years. And I think there's just going to be a massive question on whether Steve Borthwick is the man to take them there.
I think you're just speaking about what English sport is, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's cricket, football, rugby, their fans are pretty damn optimistic always and brutal about how their team should perform. And going to that Six Nations, one of my best mates, he is English, and he unequivocally believed 2 years out from the World Cup that they're going to win it. He hasn't spoken to me for 2 months since the Six Nations and whatnot. So
You've gone a bit silent.
yeah, which I understand. He did message me after the Hurricanes won Super Rugby, so that was nice. Nice for him to check in. But yeah, I think there's English fans who are hurting after the Six Nations, and yeah, I think the Wallabies, they're a team on the up. So we can call that a hot take, or we can just say you're speaking facts. Home World Cup next year, Wallabies, mate, they're gonna. I don't want to say take over, but they're gonna be pretty decent. So pretty excited about how that's gonna go. Chiming in with my hot take, Finn's first hot take.
Dude, what's your hot take, Finn? Hopefully it's a lot hotter than mine.
Oh, this is spicy, actually. I hope you're sitting down. I know you are, so that's good. Week 1 of the Nations Championship is just days away. We're quite excited. We're quite lucky to have Test footy back, and in my part of the world. And I want to say that Italy are going to be the only Northern Hemisphere team that wins in week 1.
Ooh, that is a tough one.
So
that is a tough one to take, honestly.
So I'm going to take you through the fixtures quickly. Of course, it gets underway in Christchurch. The All Blacks taking on a French team, which is pretty, obviously not at full strength. So I expect the All Blacks to get the job done there. We've got Ireland. We've got Japan hosting. Who is it? Japan hosting Italy, of course. And I think, the Italians, they're one of the best teams to watch in the world at the moment. So I think, they're definitely on the up. And I think they're improving at a really exciting time ahead of the World Cup. Wallabies hosting Ireland. I think the Wallabies, they showed last year against the Lions and the Box that they can win these big games. And I think great opportunity to do that this weekend in front of a sold-out crowd at Allianz Stadium here in Sydney. But there will be a lot of Irish. Fiji against Wales. It's a Fiji home game, but it's in Cardiff, I'm pretty sure. So that'll be interesting. But I think Fiji, a very good team. South Africa, back-to-back Rugby World Cup champions, potentially on the cusp of a third straight title. You'd think next year they're the favourites for that. Hosting England, who haven't won at Ellis Park since 1972. Mate, it's been quite some time, and they haven't won in South Africa since 2018. And then finally, I want you to talk through this one. Argentina, Scotland. What happened last time?
Don't even get me started. Argentina, Scotland. I think there's a massive issue there with how we coached that last game in the autumn. It was at home. We went 21-0 up or something. And then we still ended up losing 31-32 off the top of my head. It was a very close match. I don't know if you deep dived into the game or saw it yourself, but we didn't actually make a proper forward substitution until the 71st minute. And that is mental to me. I don't see how you can think about actually winning a game when you play that way. There was one drop change up at the start because of a couple injuries, but that was just kind of a roll on, roll off situation. And then there was just no tactical change. It wasn't actually Argentina being better than Scotland. It was just Scotland boys were knackered. They had just gone against All Blacks the week before. We gave our all in that game, got pretty close, sadly for a DMAC madness. I think we were just gassed out. And Townsend has got to have the ability to go, these guys can't handle it. We need to bring someone on. Maybe there's a comment there that we don't have enough strength from the bench, but I think we do. And I just don't think we're giving lads enough minutes and enough opportunities to really, really go for it. And I think that's actually going to be the same worry I have when we go to Argentina. We don't have a strong Finn Russo. He still picked up a knock from that last Bath game that caused him to miss the semi-final against Exeter. And we are just not testing players enough. I don't know if you saw the For Love of Rugby podcast I appeared on. And
Jeez, keeping it humble. Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah, I just appeared on that podcast, with Beijing's famous comedian Vittorio Angeloni, Anthony Watson, the big dogs, my best friends.
The face of Scottish rugby.
I don't think I'm going to get invited after my hot take of slagging off Dan Carter ever again. But
that's the nuts on social. That was
they said it was fun and entertaining.
I saw that before you sent that to me. That popped up, and I went, first off, how the hell is he on the show? Second of all, what is he talking about? And anyway, that's how podcast was more.
Yeah, I bet you were probably very angry when you first heard it. What was the reaction?
Yes, Finlay just doesn't know rugby. And that's quite heartbreaking. When you consider someone a friend and consider them a mate, and a colleague even. But clearly you haven't watched rugby before, and that's okay. I'm happy to educate you, and that's also the point of this pod. So
this is the point of the podcast. I'll explain my reasons another time. But yeah, I'll tell you a story. I absolutely bottled it. I was in Hong Kong for the Sevens, little thingy, and I bumped into Dan Carter. He was, I think he was a representative for HSBC, and I bottled it. I've never bottled it so hard in my life. I was going to be like, "Yo, Dan," there was rumor going around that he'd seen the clip and he knew about me, but then I got face to face with him, and I just didn't even say a word to him. Just gave him a nod, and I walked away. So that's me. And then the lovely Carl Tiana, legend of the All Black Sevens game, later grabbed me by the neck and just went, "Don't you ever talk about my DC like that." And he's a retired rugby player, but he's still got his strength there. And I did shit my pants a little bit, but hey, that's the lovely rugby life we get to live. If you're going to talk big opinions, you've got to back it. However, referencing to the For Love of Rugby podcast, I mentioned I met a very good rugby player who I'm a big fan of right now, and that's a man called Freddie Douglas. I said he's going to be an absolutely shining light in this Six Nations. He's really going to put more power into that forward pack and really show that Scotland have just got more than a simple 8 half an hour against Wales. And then he didn't actually play a game ever again. We've not been giving these really, really solid young up-and-coming players the time to grow and build into their roles, which is why I'm very, very nervous going into this Nations Championships. And from what you said, Argentina love a home game. They play great there, and I do think Scotland are going to lose that first one. However,
there we go. Thanks for agreeing with me. So we can stop. Let's podcast this.
I'm not stopping it right here. I'm not having it. I'm still not allowing your hot take. You need to keep a wee eye on Wales. I think they're going to come back up. This Nations Championship is going to be a real interesting one for Wales, and I think people are going to realise, no, this team is actually class. They have great players. David Jenkins is going to be an absolute star in the second row. I don't know if you saw his performances for Exeter recently. He's absolutely amazing. I love him to bits. He's lost captaincy, but I definitely think he is a future Welsh captain. Where he just needs to mature into the role a bit more. But Wales basically at home against Fiji. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think Fiji are going to take a while to warm up into the Nations Championships. There's going to be some games that aren't going to go their way, and I think Wales will shock a couple people. They might not win many games, but I think they'll shock.
Hope so. I think everyone around the rugby world wants to see Wales do better, except the English, probably. But one of my grandparents, he's Welsh, and I'm sure he would have loved to see Wales. He would have hated to see where they are now, put it that way, I think. So, but what I will say about Fiji, we'll get onto it a bit later, but their squad is absolutely stacked. It's insane. So I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I think that they're primed for actually a couple of upsets during this Nations Championship, but watch this space. And I will just add quickly, I was watching that Argentina-Scotland game last night, my friend. I was at the pub and they had a replay on. You would not believe it.
They had a replay on in the pub?
That is true.
No
way. They had a replay of South Africa, England. Then they put on Argentina, Scotland. And then as I was leaving, they put on the Super Rugby Grand Final from this year. The Hurricanes winning that 60-5. They had these, it was like extended highlights, guys. Okay. I was not at the pub for 4 hours. I'm a professional. I wanted to get to sleep and rest up before a big day of media. But before we wrap up and lead into the next segment, I do just want to say my own story of awkward interactions. My first rugby trip abroad as a journo, and I was face to face with Jason Ryan, All Blacks assistant coach, and I had a one-on-one interview. And a colleague of mine, Ben Smith, who people might know from Twitter, he was on the camera filming it, and Jason looked at me and he said, "Should I look at you or the camera?" And I was 23, Finlay, and I didn't freeze actually. I did the opposite. I just instinctively went, "Look into my eyes, but try not to fall in love with me." Um, and to this day, I'm still not sure if he did or not. So Jason, if you're watching, yeah, I'd love to know your side of the story. Now, it was a pretty funny interaction. One of those interactions I didn't remember it happening as it happened. It wasn't until I went to dinner that night where Ben went, "Why the hell did you say that?" And he said that laughing. But yeah.
Did he
Anyway,
acknowledge it at all?
I can't remember. I was so nervous, mate. I think I blacked out a little bit. And that's okay. That's okay. I got through it. Now, leading into the next segment, we are going to review Super Rugby, URC, and a bit of sevens as well, or European rugby. But before we do that, I was at a Wallabies press conference today, and I asked Tom Wright about Ireland. Just to lead into the next segment, this is what Tom Wright had to say.
Yeah, certainly really challenging. I think the handful of times I've played Ireland, it's always been at Aviva Stadium, which is difficult enough on its day, and the threat that they pose as number 3 in the world is, whether they're home or away, is pretty big climb for any team. But it's nice that we get them on our home deck for once, and I think the Super Rugby season that all the groups have had, we've all performed really strongly, and I think they're probably looking forward to coming out and seeing where they land for a home game for us too, which is exciting. We saw that how much enthusiasm and how much spectacle the Lions series was, and they're obviously a strong contingent in that Lions team that we saw. So we're all chomping at the bit.
So Finlay, mate, I was actually going through Twitter the other day, and I was thinking this already, but I saw a tweet from Ben Smith. Like I said, colleague of mine at Rugby Pass, great guy, and he confidently tweeted, "This Hurricanes team would beat Bordeaux." That's the sentiment of what he's tweeted, and that gained a lot of traction around the rugby world. And from your point of view, as the man in the north, I want to know, Bordeaux, European champions back to back, would they beat the 2026 Hurricanes, presuming they're both at full strength and they're playing their top sides?
I've been watching both. And I've been really privileged to have the time to be able to watch a lot more Super Rugby than I have in the past. And that Hurricanes team is insane. I can't deny that. However, you don't have a certain man. Well, actually, multiple certain men. I think I will just have to say that Bordeaux would absolutely ruin Hurricanes. In my opinion, I think their actual list of star players are just outstanding. I want to note on Ben Tamifuna. He is 148 kg, absolute beast. He's not slow at all, and he's such an anomaly of a human being of peak athleticism, and he's not even half your worries. He's the one that's coming on and ruining you when you're absolutely knackered, because you've been spending the first half trying to chase down Louis Bielbiere, one of the greatest wingers in the world right now. That's that squad. To be fair, I will say, I think most top 14 squads would absolutely ruin the Hurricanes. I will say myself. I think you could take that Toulouse squad after just winning the top 14. They would beat you. You could even give a shout to Ronan O'Gara's La Rochelle. Hurricanes have been playing some amazing rugby. However, I think a lot of people have been watching what's going on in the south, and we're starting to emulate that style of fast ball, quick play, and yeah, greatly, we're just doing it better now.
You can talk about Big Ben coming on and making an impact, but my thinking is that the match would be over by half time. We saw that in the grand final a couple of weeks ago. The Hurricanes were just on another level. They were the first team in Super Rugby's 30-year history to score 100 tries in a single campaign. Fehi on one wing, Josh Morby on the other. Ruben Love at 10 was just an absolute masterclass, mate. from start to finish. I seriously think the All Blacks would be okay if they got that Hurricanes 15 and gave them All Black jerseys. I mean, Warner Dearns in the second row was just unreal. I would say, despite not making the official Super Rugby Team of the Year, he was the best lock in the competition, in my view, and by quite some margin. I think him and Jeremy Williams were both class, but Warner Dearns, he's just absolutely sensational. But the Hurricanes, I think would smoke Bordeaux. And to add to that, I've just asked ChatGPT to simulate a game between Bordeaux and the Hurricanes 2026 teams 1,000 times. And what it's telling me right now, this is me reading this for the first time, is that at a neutral venue, the Hurricanes would win 605 times, Bordeaux would win 395 times. So the Hurricanes have a 60.5% chance of beating Bordeaux in a head-to-head matchup. But that's the same. A Bordeaux
computers decide that. No, like that's just so wrong.
It's not, because my ChatGPT knows I'm a Southern Hemisphere journalist. So credit to Chat and AI for siding with me there. Hurricanes by 3 to 5 points. That's the takeaway.
I would sadly have to disagree with that, and we'll have to try and let the comments decide on that one. They're two amazing teams, and I don't disagree with you that you could probably just put that Hurricanes backline and just have them as the All Blacks backline. Yeah, I can't think of anyone drastic that could take their spots based on form. However, would you maybe not disagree that the Hurricanes are maybe competing in a not very competitive league right now? Moana Pacifica having to fold, probably not in a great state. I think there's a lot of teams there that aren't putting up a fight. And the fact that there was such a big points margin in a final, do you not want to see a bit more of a closer matchup? Competitiveness, come on.
Finlay, at the top of the show, mate, you said the Australian teams were doing really well in Super Rugby, and that's why the Wallabies are going to be class and be better than England at the next 2 World Cups. So what's your stance here, buddy?
Yeah, you've actually gone right back around on what I've actually said.
I think the state of Super Rugby is an interesting one because there has been a divide between the New Zealand teams and the Australian teams for quite some time. Australian team hasn't won the title since 2014 when Bernard Foley kicked the Tars to victory against the Crusaders. So it's been some time. But look, the Hurricanes, they did what they needed to do. They were class throughout the whole final series, throughout the whole regular season. And the takeaway is you look at the big winners from Super Rugby. You're looking at Ruben Love, Fehi, Josh Morby, Quinn Tapia, Anton Segner from the Blues. These players were really stepping up. And even across the ditch in Australia here, Jock Campbell from the Queensland Reds back in the fold for the Wallabies for the first time in 4 years, contesting for that 15 jersey with Tom Wright. Declan Meredith, an uncapped fly half in the Wallabies squad for the Nations Championship. So a lot to like about Super Rugby, but I'm going to go through the European competitions, and I want you to give me one word to describe each season. I'm going to put you on the spot here. We did not talk about this pre-show, okay?
No,
but just to start with,
at the top of my dome.
Yeah, just to start with, top 14, Toulouse getting the job done yet again. Bordeaux, the European champions, missing out on the playoffs. But one word to sum up the top 14.
I go outstanding.
Okay.
I'm always blown away by top 14. I think it's such an amazing competition, and it's probably there's a big reason why it's the number 1 league in the world.
Yeah.
It's the Premier League. It's the English Premier League of rugby. It's the most competitive. The best players play in it, and I think there's going to be. I think as the years go by, there's going to be a lot more players that are going to keep on choosing top 14 over other seasons.
English Premiership. Can it be 2 words? Can it be Henry Pollock? He was class in the final, mate. He was class. He's really coming into his own.
I'll say emerging. Yeah, I think emerging. I think there's a lot of English I think England are going to have a tough time with the Prem right now. It's a good issue. It's a good issue to have, and that's the competitiveness. I think there's a lot of young English players that are coming up now and really putting a big clause into trying to get into that English team, which is a good problem to have. You want to have competitiveness and you want to have a top selection, but how you get that best selection out and get the best players gelling together will be difficult. You saw the outcome of Noah Kalouri, absolute beast at 19 only 19 years old right now, scoring, what was it, 5 tries in his first game for Saracens. And then obviously Henry Pollock, absolutely amazing. Finn Smith, shout out to him as well.
One word to just sum up the URC. Of course, Leinster, once again, getting it done.
I'm going to say dead. I've not been a big fan of the URC this season overall, and that's not just because Edinburgh were absolutely terrible, but I think there's something in the competition that's getting ruined about it, and I don't. This might be my hot take. I don't think South African teams should be in the URC anymore. I think it works out being on our time zone, but I think South Africa is such a strong rugby nation. They can just make their own league. I think they should have their own league. They could maybe compete in Champions Cup. I think there was just this whole thought and narrative that South African teams were so up and down, when they're having to travel off for Champions Cup, then travel for URC. You never really know what teams you're going to get. So that the consistency in that league is just all over the place. I don't find it that entertaining. Leinster, they have such a concentrated team with fantastic Irish players. So it's kind of the expectations. They should be winning it. The only real competition in my eyes were Glasgow, fantastic season, just absolutely fumbled it at the final hurdle. If Glasgow were playing Leinster in that final, I think it might have been a Glasgow win. But, you got to win the semis. How you give up a 21-0 lead at halftime, I don't know. But that's maybe just the Scottish way.
I think the idea that South Africa should leave the URC and form their own competition, I think Bulls fans might absolutely agree with you on that one. Losing, is it 3 or 4 finals in the last, I think 4 finals in the last 5 years in the URC.
Yeah.
I think they'd be pretty keen to get out. So, but at the same time, you can't isolate South Africa. They're such a important rugby market that I don't think it would work necessarily if they just did the Curry Cup on themselves, by themselves. Is that enough for big name players to stay in South Africa if they're playing Curry Cup? Potentially, it would be more financially viable for players to go play in the URC with one of the Irish clubs or something like that, you would think.
I think it vibes up the Champions Cup a bit more, I think they can stay in Champions Cup because obviously it's not a question about whether they're good enough or not. They're clearly good enough. It's just I think it's the travel and everything is such a pain on everyone's lives, and
It's a lot of work.
they're not going. It's not football or anything. They're not going PJs and everything. There's you got big 6'6" lads having to sit in economy for 10 hours to get up there, which is fine on a 2-week basis when you do a quick Champions Cup run. But then to do that and then URC, it's just too much going on the plate. And I think South Africa, this is all just full compliments to South Africa. They have such a rich, dynamic history in rugby. They have such a massive pool through the school systems and everything. I think the schools can just make more clubs, which can then just create their own. Create the Curry Cup.
It's the Curry Cup, mate. They could just expand that out. I've said that for years. I've said that for years about the NPC in New Zealand. Could that work on its own? But then what would Australia do? I think that would be interesting. When you do look at not the state of Super Rugby, because it's on the up. I think it's returning back to its heights, or at least it's trending in the right direction. But the NPC for me, I love the NPC. Trust me, you wait. When the NPC gets underway, I won't shut up about it because I think it's just awesome. So, But I think it's an interesting thing to debate about South Africa. I think people in Super Rugby circles fans that is, would love to see South Africa come back. But even I've done the flight from Sydney to Johannesburg. It's 14 hours. It's a long way for a Super Rugby game in theory. But speaking of Super Rugby, I just want to give you my couple words to sum up that season very quickly. Uplifting and hopeful, I think. I know that's 2 words, but you had 3 tournaments to cover. I've got 1. And I just want to say I think it is a step in the right direction. Seeing the Hurricanes, who I may or may not be from Wellington originally, so I might be a Hurricanes fan. Seeing them get the job done is pretty cool. I think seeing a bit of change. That was 10 years since they won a title, but also you look at like the Brumbies, they beat 4 or 5 New Zealand teams, got absolutely smashed by the Hurricanes on 2 occasions. But there's growth there. The Reds continue to knock at the door, but they're still that little bit far away. But they've got Vern Cotter from the Blues replacing Les Kiss there as head coach next year. So very keen on that. I do have a few questions over the team of the year. Not sure if you saw it, but it was 8 New Zealand players and 7 Australian players, which seems fair. But New Zealand were very dominant. The teams I'm looking at, the Hurricanes, the Chiefs, the Blues, the Crusaders, of course, the top 4 teams. The Highlanders even look pretty good at stages, but the Australian teams did very well in the team of the year.
You had your big stars, your Ruben Loves and your Barretts and everything this season, but who was someone who went under the radar, but you want to give a wee shout out to?
Under the radar, I think Anton Segner, he won Blues Player of the Year, so I'm not sure if he went under the radar. He's obviously an uncapped player, be named in the All Black squad, but he was very good, I thought, and he's obviously earned his opportunity to potentially debut for the All Blacks this July. He's from Germany. Pretty cool story. If you don't know what I'm talking about or who I'm talking about, go check that out. But David Havili, actually from the Crusaders, he's left Canterbury. He's off to Japan, I believe. Bringing an end to probably one of the most decorated Super Rugby careers we've ever seen. There was a game in Christchurch. They played the Chiefs, and I think it was the Chiefs, and he kicked a 50-22 from inside his own 22. So it went 22-22, scored the go-ahead try, and made a tackle in the final play of the game to force a knock-on. He is Captain Fantastic, or was with the Crusaders, a great servant of that jersey, and I think he will be missed by Crusaders fans. But what a player. Build him a statue outside their new stadium, One New Zealand Stadium, and it is a awesome venue, that one, mate.
Is it good? Awesome. It's like, it's just...
It is
and dark.
It's in the heart of the city. It is buzzing. I was there for Super Round a couple months ago, and seeing people walk around in Super Rugby jerseys, it was cool. It was seeing rugby fans interact at pubs and just around the place, around the city. It was cool. That's what rugby's about.
I want to give a wee shout out to a wee Super Rugby player that I really enjoyed watching, and that was Sid Harvey. I saw him at Under-20s Championship last season in Italy. And what a player he was. He really, really stood out for me. Managed to get a really, really good win over the English last Under-20s Championship. And he was an absolute star. Kicks perfectly, really leads from that back line. He could fill in at a 10 if he needed to. But I was like, this is really exciting of where he's coming and where he's going. And then he gets shoved into the Sevens program. It doesn't look absolutely out there. It doesn't look crazy. And then, as soon as Super Rugby season starts, they pull him out of the Sevens program and put him straight into Waratahs. And he again didn't look out there. He was fantastic, and I think he could be a shout to be a consistent player in that Wallaby squad. That Wallabies backline now looks really, really naughty when you think about the backup and the players that they're going to be bringing on. When you've got Max Jorgensen starting, I'm still shocked about how young he is. Like sometimes when I'm looking at how good he is, but hey, that's maybe something that Australia are doing well by utilising the Sevens program and getting these players really experienced up before before their club season starts and pull them in. How Finn and I properly got to know each other was being on the Sevens, going on the Sevens. Sadly, Finn didn't get to come with us there as much this season. We only say the big dogs come with us, and he didn't get the call up. But
where were you in? Where was
in afar? I apologize. I had prior engagements.
Only the big dogs at the final bit.
Yeah, that's fine. They had to take out one Finn for another Finn. No, I was at a wedding and I was actually gutted that I missed that final in Bordeaux because it looked absolutely insane, and I got to miss my main man, Darcy Graham, trying try, and he made a good attempt at it to saving GB from relegation. But what did it, from what you saw, what did you think about the Sevens series this year? Obviously, new format.
I was just happy to be there at the end. I love sevens. You know, I always had. People can't tell I'm sitting down. I'm 5'8" on a good day. When I'm on my tippy toes, maybe. So I loved sevens when I was a kid because I was like, hey, this is a type of rugby that I felt like. Yeah, I was a bit of a speedster. You know, pretty had some wheels back in the day. And I thought, yes, sevens, seemed like a cool version of rugby, and lucky to work in that a wee bit now. And I thought the new 3-tier model worked really well. We saw teams progress out of sevens 3 into sevens 2 into the World Championship Series, and it just worked out really well. And the way it all concluded, and Viola did, and then Bordeaux, of course, the Hong Kong Sevens as well, which you were at, very jealous. But yeah, Bordeaux, such a dramatic end to a really cool season. The South African boys, when they lost to Fiji in the pool stage, they walked down the tunnel, they were walking past me, and they were just lost for words. They'd been the best team all year, and it looked like they were going to be done, knocked out of the World Championship race. But then the All Black Sevens, giving them a lifeline, beating Argentina. And I was standing behind Shilton van Wyk and Ryan Oosthuizen, and they were the two players really standing in the tunnel, peering out to try and watch the All Blacks game to see if they were still a chance. And they got a lifeline, ended up winning the World Championship, which was awesome to see. And then walking down the tunnel, David Britz, he was crying. A lot of the boys were emotional, euphoric, tears of joy. And I grabbed David, and it's one of the best interviews I've ever given. So let's put it here. Let me just play it real quick.
Eternally grateful, man.
What's this going to mean to the people back home?
I hope it inspires them. I hope that we can continue to unite our country with sport. We've seen what it's done in the past. We've seen what the Springboks have done for our country. We're just trying to add a little slice to the pizza so that we can all eat. We want our whole country to be inspired by this, and the gratitude from our side for the support that we get is astronomical. So I'm forever grateful.
Mate, go celebrate, eh? Well, congratulations, man.
What do you think about sevens? I'm personally a big fan of this new format. I think the main season really brings big competition. With only having 8 men's teams and 8 women's teams, there's not an easy game in those lineups. I think this format works really, really well. That still gives an opportunity to smaller nations to go through sevens 3 and sevens 2, and then make it to the World Championships. And we saw some teams stay. We saw that absolutely dramatic winner from USA to secure their place in sevens 1. And it's just massive for them, and it's massive for the program. And what I was mentioning with Sid Harvey, I think sevens is such a good way to really bleed in young blood and let players just try new things and see different avenues. And we can see we should be seeing some of the biggest young stars on that pitch. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you think about the guys who have come through the sevens pathway and cracked their respective teams in Test rugby in 15s. Tay McDermott played for Australia, Dylan Peach, Corey Toole. In New Zealand, Bowden Barrett played there, Rika Ioane, Akira Ioane. There's Cheslin Colby in South Africa. There is a very impressive list of players who have played sevens and gone to 15s and absolutely smashed it. It's quite rare, as we've seen, for players to go from 15s to sevens. I mean, unless you're Antoine Dupont, it is very hard to do that. But he did that in style, did it and some. He was just crazy, but in the best way. He was awesome. But yeah, I think it's an awesome pathway, and I think sevens definitely has a place in rugby in 15s or in the rugby union world. And yeah, I'm keen to see where it goes from now. I think it's, building on Paris 2024, leading into LA 2028. I think, very keen to see what these teams and these countries can do.
And with the rumours, I believe, being true, that Louis Biabere will start making appearance for the French team for the 28 Olympics. Who do you think, or who would you want to see pop on a sevens top and give it a go? maybe an experienced player, or is there a young player that's coming up that you'd love to give a bit of time so that they can gain a bit more experience?
Okay, I'm going to give you 3 players off the top of my head. First one, Louis Belbery from France. Obviously, rumored to come across. Actually, I won't say him. Yeah, because of the rumors, I think that's kind of cheating from me. So instead,
I think that's.
I'm going to go with, from South Africa, Cheslin Kolbe. He has played sevens before. He is one of the all-time great wingers in 15s. He's won 2 Rugby World Cups. Very well might win a third next year. And I think he would be a great addition to that Blitzbox team who, could very well win gold in 2028. From New Zealand, I think Fehi. He did play for the All Black Sevens before, but I'm going to go with someone a little bit different. Let's go with... Oh, I'm putting myself on the spot here because I have not thought. Caleb Tangata, another player who has played sevens before. I would love to see him return. Very unfortunate not to be in the All Black squad this July. He did suffer an Achilles injury, I believe, playing for the Highlanders deep into the regular season, but he would have been in the All Black squad for sure if he was fit. And then give me another nation. Put me on the spot here. I want this to be collaborative.
Well, one player I would shout out, and it's a random shout, but I just love watching him play. And when he's fit, he's great. And I think he should just move full time to the sevens program and save GB. And it's a man named Ollie Hassel-Collins. I don't know if you've seen much of him, but a great winger, one of the fastest players in the league right now. Him, Ollie Hassel-Collins, Adam Radwan, they're fantastic players, but they're probably just not, with the competition England have, they're probably not going to get into the England national team. They can still fight for those positions and everything, but I think they should go for a wee bit of a career change and give the sevens a go. I'll try and give you a nation.
Wait, actually, I'll give you my third. I'm going to interject. I've thought about this, and I can't believe I didn't say it before, but a bloke who needs to be at LA 2028, representing GB, Henry Pollock. He is...
Henry Pollock, yeah.
Henry Pollock is such, like we spoke about before, Henry Pollock is such a personality within the world of rugby, but he is an absolute genius, a menace on the rugby field. He's doing things that forwards, back rowers should not be doing. I think he's got wheels. I think he's quick. I think he's skillful. I think he's powerful. I think he could smash it in the world of sevens. So my 3, Caleb Tangata from New Zealand, Cheslin Kolbe from South Africa, and Henry Pollock from GB. Bring them into sevens, LA 2028.
I think sevens is such a good format that can bring out your personality of the player. Obviously, we've seen characters like Alona Marr, Georgia Miller, by the way, absolutely amazing. I'm just putting her as the best female rugby player in the world right now. I don't care about what the Red Roses have to say and everything. She is the best. Absolutely amazing, and what she does on that sevens field is just different gravy. But back to male players. I had a name in my head. Do you know what? One name I'd love to see. And it's a lovely Italian man. It's Ange Capuozzo. Hopefully Italy can start building more on their sevens program. They've got a team. They just need to get a bit more form and everything. But if they end up getting a place for LA, because I think this season they start doing the qualifying rounds and everything to try and actually decide who's going to be at the Olympics. If Italy have a chance there, and Andrew's got some free time, he plays for Toulouse. It's a very competitive team in Toulouse. They could maybe miss him for a week or two, and he can go play sevens. I think he would be absolutely amazing on that field.
I think what we saw with DuPont leading into the 2024 games was that you can successfully make the switch only playing a few events. DuPont made his debut in Vancouver. I very nervously got to interview him, I think on day 2, which was pretty cool. And then he played again in Madrid, and he played LA as well. France hadn't won a sevens event in 19 years, I think, before then. And then, suddenly he comes into that team, a team who had been ranked about 5th that season, and leads them to a title. So that is, pretty cool. But
were you there in LA? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Did you get an interview with him?
I spoke to my mate Antoine. I call him AD. I don't know what you guys call him. We're just We're just boys, really, like with the same heights. That's pretty cool. I interviewed him in Vancouver and then in Madrid.
Yeah.
And there is a photo out there of me interviewing him, and it was quite loud in the tunnel, so I'm standing quite close to him. And even me being in the photo, I'm looking at it going, oh, that looks a bit, it's too close, you know. But I had to because I couldn't, he wouldn't have been able to hear me otherwise. But look, I want to stick on the Dupont topic because, of course, news broke the other day that he won't be participating in the France squad during the Nations Championship in July. France have named a decent squad to tour down under, starting in New Zealand and Christchurch. They're then coming across my way to Brisbane to play the Wallabies next week. Damien Penaud, Jalabert in the squad. You know, I like the look of it. Even our man, Aaron Grandidier, former France Sevens player, in there too.
Great.
But
He's insane.
He's a nice guy too. Good dude. But let's just,
really nice guy.
I'm going to go through these games. Quick prediction, quick summary, quick thoughts. We'll get this moving pretty quick. New Zealand, France in Christchurch. Who wins and why, mate?
I'm going to just have to say New Zealand. I think it's a shame in these summer games that the top 14 finishes so late. So you're just not going to get the best French squad.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad squad at all. But when, you know, you had a New Zealand team that have just come back off a Super Rugby season so strong, and you've clearly picked on form. I've just got to go All Blacks, you know. Who's actually going to go to their back garden and actually win, you know. Like, there's not many teams. You had a full strength French squad. They'd absolutely pummel you to the ground like they usually do. But no, I have to give this one to All Blacks this time. But that's
very intrigued to see the team that Dave Rennie picks. Of course, Dave Rennie's first test in charge of the All Blacks. Ruben Love or Damien McKenzie at 10. I don't think Beauden Barrett gets a start, but who knows? He is one of the all-time greats. Anton Segner, Xavier Numia, among the potential uncapped players who could get a run, but I think the All Blacks win this one relatively comfortably, I think. And 30,000 people sold out at One New Zealand Stadium. That's going to be awesome. Japan versus Italy. Like I said at the top of the show, I think this is the one game that a Northern Hemisphere team will win. I think the Azuri get the chocolates, but Finlay, you standing up for the Northern Hemisphere, or do you think the Braves also just get it down?
Nah, Italy all day. It's just that Italian squad. If you watch much of them at the Six Nations, they are so strong. They're really, really dangerous. And like what they've actually, like, this is the thing. They've always been this strong. There was never an issue about how they played. The big issue was just their discipline. Like, as long as they don't pick up silly yellow cards, they could beat most teams. They really not South Africa. South Africa could beat them with 13 men. So that's a bit. But like Japan, love that team, but they've not really been outstanding. I've not been seeing too much of them recently. They've still got a long, long way to go to start really competing regularly against Tier 1 nations. But yeah, Italy for me easily. Menoncello. Shout out Tommaso Menoncello. He is my guy.
And then Australia, Ireland here in Sydney. Well, I think the Aussies do get the job done here. I think under Joe Schmidt, they showed a lot of promise last year. I think the 15 tests was obviously a talking point by the end of the year. But when you consider who they've got in their squad, I think their loose forwards trio with Valentini, with Hooper off the bench, you would think, McWright and Captain Harry Wilson, I think that's up there. That's as good as any other loose forwards trio you will see in rugby. I think it might even be the best. I'll go that far. I think their backline is class. Lenekatau, Joseph Ikusa-Suali'i in the centres. In the outside backs, you could go with Dylan Peach, Harry Potter, Max Jorgensen, Filippo Dalgunu, Tom Wright or Jock Campbell at fullback. This Wallabies team is a lot more impressive than I think a lot of people give them the credit for, and I expect them to beat the Irish in Sydney this weekend.
No, I agree a lot. I agree. I think they're a really, really good team. However, Ireland seem up for it. They do seem up for it, and they're a tough team to beat. And I think we'll see lots of good things from this Australia team, but I think Ireland still have that experience. A lot of their players are kind of in their peak / coming out their peak. There'll be a bit more of a worry. There'll be a bit more of a worry when we get into 27 bodies might start falling apart and might not be the same pace about the game. But from what they showed at the Six Nations is that they've still got it. They can still ruin a team. They can still absolutely tear you apart. You just got to watch Jameson Gibson Park. If he's on form, they'll beat you guys. But I'll back my Northern Hemisphere just now.
Gibson Park, you mentioned him. One matchup I'm really keen to see this weekend. Hopefully, if the rugby selectors, the rugby gods go with it, is Gibson Park against Ryan Lonergan. I want to see Lonergan start for the Wallabies this week. He hasn't started for the Wallabies yet, but he's awesome for the Brumbies. We saw that last year during the Lions series when he captained the Brumbies against the Lions, and then in a handful of Wallabies tests, and of course during the Super Rugby this year, he was different gravy, man. I honestly think he is clearly the best halfback, the best scrum half in Australia. So Ryan Lonergan against Jamison Gibson Park, really want to see that this weekend. Fiji, Wales in Cardiff, which is interesting for the Flying Fijians. Like I said before, their squad is absolutely stacked. I mean that if you look at their forwards, class. Their playmakers, class. Their back line, their outside backs, class. I really think the Fijians get the chocolates here, the Flying Fijians. But Finlay, your thoughts?
I think Wales are going to get the win there. I think people still really, really underrate them now, but there's been a slow period of working on things, and they've been coming back up, and they're there now. I think they're there.
It's the type of thing that was said about France at World Cups for years. Still is, what French team is going to turn up? Yeah, even that's said about France week to week in the Six Nations, but it's the same thing with the Flying Fijians. Which Fijian team is going to turn up in terms of their ability? Things are going to click, because on paper their team, like I said, is class, but can they get things right? I think very intrigued to see that. South Africa, England. I think this is arguably the game of the first round. That's going to be at one of the best rugby stadiums in the world, Ellis Park in Johannesburg, or Emirates Airline Park, as it's now called. Rassie Erasmus already playing mind games. He's announced the South African squad, the Springboks team, very early, and I was going through it yesterday. There is not a weak link in that team. It is absolutely class. It's firepower. This is a World Cup winning caliber team, and despite how good Henry Pollock might be, I think the Springboks team is going to be too good.
Yeah, no, way too good. I think it's going to be a real tough challenge for England. I think they've still got, from that last Six Nations, they've still got a lot of things to actually figure out. The style of play they want to play. I think England has some fantastic players, but I just don't think they play the right style of rugby. This English way of lots of kicking and this, that, the other, I think it works well in certain games and stuff. But I think that just the scare, like the players they have, you're not utilizing Marcus Smith enough. Like Marcus Smith is now just falling into this, like, I wouldn't say irrelevancy, but just like he's just going into the shadows because he's not actually able to be the best player he's able to be. And it's so tough for him. I get so annoyed when you don't get to see those type of players really bring it all out and really go for it. So I think, it's a South Africa win. South Africa too strong right now.
And again, if you are an England fan, history not on your side. You haven't won at Ellis Park since the 1970s and haven't won in South Africa since 2018. So the Springboks, the back-to-back Rugby World Cup winners for a reason. I think they'll show that this weekend. So, but yeah, like I said, that should be the game of the round, I think. So keep an eye on that one. And then finally, to round things off, can Scotland get their revenge against Los Pumas in Argentina?
It's not a good time to be a Scotland fan.
You're so defeated, mate.
Now
you're so defeated. Like normally when I speak to you, you're Mr. Optimist about Scottish sports and Scottish rugby, but now it's just like, has me talking to you for an hour broken you? I feel bad.
I've never listened to you for this long. Actually, it's absolutely painful. Doesn't know. So my issue with Scotland right now is we, as previously mentioned in the episode, is that we have lots and lots of good players, but they've just not been given that time to develop. And when you have injuries to that first 15, because I think it'd be stupid to try pull in Finn Russell for this game. So we're going to have to play Fergus Burt, who is a fantastic 10. I think he's been a great addition to the team. But he's barely played. He's barely played. Even in some, we brought in Fergus Birkin, and even in some warm-ups we played last autumn, we were going for Adam Hastings. And Adam Hastings, great player as well, isn't going to start for Scotland, or isn't going to be that right player to play back up to Finn when Finn is injured. It's frustrating to see. I think Freddie Douglas should have got a lot more minutes in the Six Nations. And if they're going to be there and they're going to play against Argentina, they've got to have experience and they've got to have those minutes behind their back, which I think is just going to scare me. But I think on paper we are still a better squad than Argentina. Argentina are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna have to go with an Argentina win here. I think they've got enough to just keep going and absolutely dismantle us. We're not going to have that killer instinct and that true. So we don't have that experience. I'm pretty defeated after the Six Nations. It's been 3 months since the Six Nations, and I'm still not over it. It's just I could see it all happening right in front of my eyes. I knew we would beat England at Murrayfield, which was fantastic. That was a great day. I knew we were going to beat France at Murrayfield. I wasn't actually that, like, by social media. If you go on my TikTok, it looks like I was shocked. I wasn't actually that shocked. France don't have that bottle for some reason when they come to Murrayfield. They get really irritated by us, and then they cause stupid mistakes, silly yellow cards. They did almost come back and beat us, but we got a fantastic win. But then again, when you take, it was just written. It was written in the stars. If we were really a proper team that could really stick it to anybody, we would have beaten Ireland. But I just knew that 9-year history, or almost 10-year history now, we weren't going to beat Ireland. And then it showed. We didn't beat Ireland, who wasn't even the strongest Ireland at the time. So I just think that Scotland, it's just almost there. It's so close to being that top nation, but just keeps falling apart. So I'm going to have to go for an Argentina win.
Actually, I should explain just quickly for anyone watching, anyone listening who still isn't sure about what the Nations Championship is. It is a new competition this year. Effectively, SANZAAR and Six Nations coming together to form the Nations Championship, which every 2 years allows the 12 best teams in men's rugby to contest effectively a world title, played over 6 rounds, where you know the Six Nations teams. So rattle them off, Finlay. The Six Nations teams, who are they?
You have the classic Six Nations teams. Surprisingly, there's 6 of them. You got the mighty Ireland, the fantastic French, England, Scotland, Wales, and Italy. Probably, Six Nations, I'd say it's one of the toughest international competitions in the world. It's class. The best of the best in the north. And we're taking on the best of the south. Name off your southern.
It's the 4 rugby championship teams. So you've got New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, and Argentina, as well as Fiji and Japan. They'll play 1 match each. So the 6 Southern Hemisphere teams versus the Northern Hemisphere teams once each. And then that determines the rankings ahead of the finals weekend at Twickenham. 3 days of double headers. The top ranked teams will versus each other, the second ranked teams versus each other, and so on. And that determines, 1, who is the best team in the Nations Championship for that year, but also which hemisphere is the best. And that will be the Southern Hemisphere when it is all said and done. And I'll be on this podcast singing and dancing and having a great time. I might even throw myself a party, because that's the whole reason I'm here representing the South on this show. But now, to further represent the South, and Finlay, for you to further represent the North, something we're going to do, we're going to bring the viewers, the listeners, rugby fans into the discussion, because I've got a Nations Championship backline made up of Southern Hemisphere players only, and you've picked a team of Northern Hemisphere players. We're going to rattle them off position by position, and then on social media, we want you to vote who has the better team and why is it me. So starting with scrum half, Finlay, we're going to do this one by one. You're going to go first, then me, and then we're going to do a full recap of our teams afterwards. So scrum half.
second best scrum half in the world. It's just got to be Jamison Gibson Park. I don't know how much of the Six Nations you watched, but if anybody wants a scrum half masterclass, people should just go back and watch that game against England. He absolutely tore them up, tore them a new one. I think nowadays New Zealand might be kicking themselves that they never actually gave him a chance.
Well, in the Southern Hemisphere at scrum half, give me Cam Roigard.
Yeah, good player. Not as good as Jamison Park.
Disagree, actually.
Genuinely. Do you think if Gibson Park kept his allegiance, would he be in that All Black squad?
He'd be in the All Black squad. Don't get me wrong. He'd be in the All Black squad.
It's not starting over Cam Roigard.
Not in 2026, no. I think Roigard's the top 5 player in the world. And he will be by the end of this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
No.
I think you'll see that in the Rugby Pass Top 100 this year, presuming that goes ahead. I think Roigard is that good. I think he'll be nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year as well. So Cam Roigard at 9. At fly half, I've got Ruben Love. This is interchangeable. It depends. Damien McKenzie, if he starts for the All Blacks against the French, I'm not too sure how this is going to play out, but Ruben Love, player of the final in the Super Rugby Pacific Decider, he's at 10 for me.
I'll have to give a shout out to Finn, the lovely Finn.
Thanks, mate.
It's not my Finn. It's Finn Smith. Finn Smith, lovely player, but obviously great player, fantastic season for Northampton Saints. However, praying that he is fit and he's recovered from his weak calf injury. It's got to be Finn Russell. Finn Russell, best fly half in the world right now. You just can't tell me otherwise. He just does everything so well, and it's like he might not be the best. I'll give it to some people. I think people judge him on how he is as an athlete. He might not be the best athlete in the world. He's got a bit of a beer belly. He's not the fastest runner, but how he reads the game as a fly half is fantastic. And everything he does is just absolutely amazing. He reads the game so well. That double pump to braid the line, just so good. Like he does passes that I haven't seen fly halves do in a long time. I'll give it to Ruben Love. He had a lovely moment in that Super Rugby final, especially that wee step he had. But Finn Russell.
What about a second try, mate? Ruben Love. He went airborne. He did things that wingers can't do. There, I think they should build him a statue for that moment alone, outside Henry Stadium in the capital in Wellington.
Yeah, but that's his fullback experience talking. He's not an out and out fly half. Like
he's got the 10. He's got the 10 on his back though. I think there's credit there. Let's do the centers as a combo. So inside and outside centers. I've got Geordie Barrett with Joseph Akuso Suali'i.
That is a good combination, and I almost forgot mine. My center combination, it's a bloody good one. It's Sione Tuipulotu and Tommaso Menoncello. Menoncello, one of the best centers in the world right now. I think, could you say he's criminally underrated? Maybe, yes. I think the Southern Hemisphere don't know about him yet.
Unknown by some people, I think.
And then obviously Sione Tuipulotu, like what he's doing at Glasgow, captaining Scotland, like I just keep thinking, how did Australia mess that one up? Like he is the guy, he is that man. He really goes for it. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised he didn't go Hugh Jones. To be honest, when we first came up with this idea, I was expecting a full Scotland backline from you. So this is nice. I'm enjoying some variety. I
love Hugh Jones. He was literally going to be the name that I put in, but I think he is amazing. Like, honest to God, like, don't get me started. I think Hugh Jones still beats both your centers as well. I think that's how good Menoncello is. That's how good Tommaso is. That's it. It's nothing on Hugh.
And my two wingers are Max Jorgensen and Cheslin Colby.
Good. Those are good winners. However, getting beaten, and it kind of it kind of pains me to say this one, but obviously not this one. Obviously has to go in Louis Bilberry, the best winger in the world, absolutely amazing. But then also I've got to give a shout out to Tommy Freeman, been solid this season for the Prem. I was kind of like, feel bad for the English, I've got to chuck in one name at least. So there you go. I'll give Tommy.
And you,
But I don't fullback. It's Mother Trucking Blair Kinghorn.
really? No way.
Underrated. Oh mate, he is unreal. I can't think of any other fullbacks that might actually beat him. Like, I think the Irish fans would maybe say Hugo Keenan, but Hugo Keenan's he's just there. He's a good player, but as a fullback in the job of a fullback, you have to go Blair Kinghorn. The French will be cussing at me. They'll say Thomas Rameau.
For me, I've gone with Will Jordan, who I think there's a few guys you could go someone, I don't know. There are options from every other nation in the Southern Hemisphere.
It's an amazing. I always just think Will Jordan's just better off as a winner.
I think he's a better winger. I think he is statistically one of the best try-scoring wingers in All Blacks history. But he's also a very good fullback. But I'd actually quite like to see the All Blacks do something rogue and put Geordie Barrett back at 15, considering his height. I think that's important, considering the aerial game and how important that is in rugby today. I'd have Will Jordan on the wing with probably Caleb Clark on the other one. And in the midfield, I would go with Quinta Pyre at 12 and Billy Proctor at 13. That would be all Lester Fainga'anuku if he's not playing in the back row. But
I was gonna mention Lester. What a player! If Stuart he's always about Henry Pollock. Well, what a good utility player he's becoming. Can kick, can run it. Oh my god!
In his, I want to say he played 4 games at 7, something like that. He was player of the match probably in each match. He was insane, Lester Fainga'anuku. So very good for the Crusaders as a back rower and as a centre. But Finlay, mate, keen as for the games this weekend. I'm wearing my AUNZ jersey that I got close to a year ago during the Lions tour because I represent where I live, Australia, where I'm from, New Zealand. Southern Hemisphere Rugby going to prove yet again this weekend why they are the best hemisphere in rugby, aside from Italy, who will get the job done against Japan. But very keen for the first round of the Nations Championship, and also very happy to have the first ep in the books of North vs South. Long may this debate go on, and long may I prove myself right, which I'm very keen on as well.
Hey, just get ready for Monday, and you're just going to have to eat that humble pie. You're going to eat that humble pie when you only walk away with 1 win from South Africa, and we've beaten every single one in the round. So stick it up here.